In this video, we are going to talk about neediness. Maybe you've been called needy in relationships, or maybe you are a people pleaser, maybe you are conflict avoidant, maybe you're the stereotypical nice guy or nice girl who can never really seem to say no to things you don't want to do, and you're wondering why that is. Maybe you're in this situation because you've recently been broken up with in a relationship and somebody said you're just too nice, and you feel like, I thought being nice was a good thing. Why does that make me needy? What's going on here? Well, in this video, we're going to be talking about all things neediness, specifically what you can do to stop being needy and why it goes far beyond the symptoms you might experience. For instance, if you are conflict avoidant or a people pleaser or things like that, you might think that that's pretty much your problem in life. But actually, these things we typically think of as the problem, being too nice in relationships and pushing people away for some reason, they think you're needy and you're confused by that. Actually, that in and of itself is not your problem. It is a symptom of the deeper underlying issue that we are going to talk about in this video. So to understand where neediness comes from and why it is so repulsive in relationships, in interpersonal dynamics, we need to understand on an energy level what's going on. Because a lot of nice people, a lot of people who are needy, don't think of themselves as being emotionally repellent. In fact, they probably think of themselves, and I know I have done this a lot in my own life, you think that you're doing whatever you can to make the other person happy. Why would that push them away? You're trying to make sure everybody's happy. You're trying to make sure there's no conflict. You're doing your best to make sure everybody else is having a good time. Why does that make them less likely to like you? Why does that push them away? That seems completely backwards. Because you're a stereotypical nice guy. Let's use me as an example because I am the classic stereotypical nice guy, or at least I was. I did everything I could to just generally make sure everybody was having a good time. In relationships, I was the type of person who would say, well, we can go where you want to eat, we can do what you want to do. I was very self-sacrificing, or so I thought, for the benefit of the other person. And my mentality was that, well, I value this other person, so if I continue to put them first, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing what you should do in these situations. I'm being the good person. I'm doing the right thing. And this is where those energy dynamics come in, because it turns out that you can, in fact, do the right thing for the wrong reason. There's nothing wrong with occasionally being self-sacrificing. There's nothing wrong with going to a place your significant other wants to eat, and there's, of course, nothing wrong with deciding that it's not really worth fighting over whatever random argument. But, and this is important, if you've ever had somebody try to sell you something, maybe they give you like the yes line, do you drink water? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, do you want clean water in your city? And you're like, yeah. And then they give you the line of things, and you can tell that they're trying to sell you something. They're trying to be like, give you that, you're on the hook for something. And you get that feeling of like, I don't like this. I don't want to be involved in this anymore. They're being all sweet, but you know in the back of your mind that they are not being sweet in a genuine sense. They are doing what they are doing not as a way to actually reflect how they truly feel about you and the situation. They want something from you. And if you've ever noticed, when you feel that somebody is trying to subtly get something from you, you instantly, almost automatically, subconsciously armor up. You start to resist. You don't want to give it to them because it feels sneaky, it feels gross, it's kind of repelling. In fact, I know people who have been in relationships with this dynamic, with needy, nice people, quote unquote, as their partner. I talked to a girl who said that she was repulsed by the needy energy from her boyfriend. And if you are a nice person, or you think of yourself as a nice person, you probably don't intend it that way. You think that this is the best way to act in the world. In fact, it's probably your default way of being. And if you're called needy, you're gonna think, I'm not needy at all. I'm giving. I'm self-sacrificing. I'm doing everything I can to suppress my own needs. Most of the time, I'm trying to make it all about the other people. I'm trying to make sure everybody else is happy. I'm super empathic. I do everything for them. How could they think I'm needy? It feels completely backwards until you realize the underlying energy dynamic. And that energy dynamic exists because at the core, the stereotypical nice guy, needy person does not have a strong sense of self-worth. In fact, most of the time, if you are a people pleaser, or if you are conflict avoidant, or if you are anxiously attached in relationships, or if you're the kind of person who can't say no to things, the underlying emotional current in you, the underlying thought process in you is the most important thing. Like I said earlier, it's not what you do, but it is why and how you are doing it. And when you are being needy, what it actually means to be needy is that you were deciding that the other person's validation of you is more important than what you want to do. So for instance, when you avoid conflict because you care more about what the other person thinks of you, you don't want to be seen as wrong or aggressive or mean or whatever. You care about that image of you more than you care to stand up for whatever you might believe in. Or people pleasing. You decide that everybody else being happy is more important than you being happy. You could just do whatever you want and be fulfilled, but you have decided the underlying emotional subtext is that these people's opinion of me, making them happy and making them feel fulfilled, is more important in this moment than what I want. When you do this over and over, especially in relationships, it puts more and more of that needy energy on the other person. This is very subtle at first, but the dynamic here, right? If I need you to be happy, so I am happy, that's the basic subtext. As the needy person, you consider that being giving, but actually, you are giving for a very, very manipulative reason. And you might not realize this, so don't take it too harsh, but it is extremely manipulative. And you are giving because you know you are going to get something, or you hope you are going to get something. It comes from a desire for a result. I really want my girlfriend to love me, so I'm going to do everything she likes. On the surface, that seems fine, but what you might be conveying is that your girlfriend's opinion of you, or your boyfriend, or society, or whoever you're people-pleasing at the moment, their opinion of you is more important to you than your own opinion of yourself. And if you've ever been in a situation where somebody is overly nice to you, or somebody feels disingenuous in their communications with you, somebody's trying to sell you something, you just get that vibe where it doesn't feel right. It feels kind of off. Like, why is this person so attached to me all of a sudden? I barely know this person and they're telling me their life story. It's kind of uncomfortable. You can imagine that core kind of, this feels kind of weird, is the same feeling that the needy person gives off in these situations. Because the needy person has a low self-esteem. They have a low sense of self-worth. They base their opinion of themselves, and you might not realize you're doing this, but it's the basic energy dynamic that funds neediness, that determines the energy of neediness, comes from, I don't have a very solid sense of self. I don't feel good about myself in here all the time, but if you were to like me, then I would say, well, that person's pretty cool and they like me, so I guess I can like me too for a little bit. And then we repeat that over and over and over and over and over. But what ends up happening is over long periods of time, because that can start off great in a relationship. You give the other person all the time and attention in the world. They're like, hey, this is great. But over time, when that dynamic becomes revealed, they start to realize that you are essentially an energy vampire. No matter how much validation you get, it's never actually going to fill that hole, right? It's just a perpetual kind of treadmill you get on and say, I need a little bit more, I need a little bit more. It never ends. So the needy person continues to be needy because they only feel worthy when they get that external reflection. They continue doing whatever they think they might need to, people-pleasing, avoiding all conflict, doing the right thing, doing the nice thing, being self-sacrificing on the surface level to get what they think they need, which is that validation, that love, whatever. They would not be self-sacrificing in situations where it might actually damage other people's opinions of them. They would not be self-sacrificing to do what they thought was right if it would lower everybody's opinion of them, because they don't have the sense of self. Rather, they are dependent on all of this external stuff. That is the need that the needy person has. We're all kind of just like screwed up normal humans doing our best out here. So when somebody comes in with the attitude of, well, I'm gonna give you all this extra stuff along with me in this relationship, or I'm gonna be extra nice to you over here, there's an inherent suspicion because the implication is that I don't think by myself I'm enough. So I'm going to spice the deal up over here by being super nice and all this stuff to get you to like me because I perceive you as being more valuable. Very weird how these energy dynamics work, but that is the process by which we put things or people on a pedestal. We say, oh man, they're so great over here. I'm way down here, man, this is awful. But if I'm really nice, you know, if I do all these things right, ooh boy, I can kind of work my way up here. That in and of itself, the act of trying to get all this extra stuff to make yourself look better or make the other person like you, that is needy because you think, I want them in my life because then my life would be better. I'm down here, they're up here. I want, aka need, their validation to be up here. I would be so cool to be up here with them. What can I do to raise myself up? That is the process of that needy energy that often repels. It might work at first. You start dating somebody out of your league or whatever the case might be, right? And then over time, if you continue to treat a person like they are out of your league, guess what? They will treat you like you're beneath them. If you treat somebody like a celebrity, they treat you like a fan. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We think, oh, this person's out of my league, they can never like me, and then, oh, we do everything in our power to get up here. We are constantly putting ourselves down. The subtext is that this person is somehow inherently better than me because I'm flawed and worthless and down here, so I need to be up here to get with them, and then they will make all of my dreams come true. And when we do that, we put so much pressure on the other person. In relationships especially, neediness comes as a drain on that person's energy because you, the needy person, have the constant feeling of, I want them to approve of me. I want them to be happy. I want them to be happy so that I know I'm doing the right thing. And then that might be well-intentioned, or it might feel well-intentioned, but what it actually means is the other person can never really be themselves. They have to be your perfect idea of them. Because guess what? The pedestal exists in your mind. The other person thinks of themselves as pretty much a normal, screwed up person, just like you are. So the perceived, oh, I need you to be happy and I want you to be my special prince or princess or whatever, oh, I worship the ground you walk on. After a while, as they experience themselves as being just a normal person, they start to think that shit's kind of weird and it becomes off-putting and repelling and it pushes people away. And that is the self-fulfilling prophecy because the needy person then says, look, more evidence that I am worthless, more evidence that I can't be with that person who almost had it and almost made all my dreams come true and if I weren't so worthless. They get more evidence, more proof, quote unquote, because of the things they did, because of their own energy dynamic of being needy in the first place contributes to pushing people away because it makes them uncomfortable. So, what do you do if you are the needy person? If you want to stop pushing people away in relationships, if you want to stop being a people pleaser, or stop being conflict avoidant, or stop being so empathic that you can never relax. Empathy is great, but if you can never turn it off, if you need everybody all of the time to be happy before you get to relax, you're gonna live a pretty miserable life. So how do you stop being needy? How do you go from repelling people to attracting them? Well, you need to let go of that importance that you're giving to these other people, these other situations. You need to stop acting like their value of you is more important than your value of yourself. In other words, I care more what you think about me than what I think about me. Please like me, please like me, please like me. And you on the other side, if I say, I need you to please, if you would like the video and subscribe, I would just feel so good about myself. Oh man, if you would, it would just make me so happy. You're probably like, ugh. It's just an uncomfortable energy that gets projected at people when there's that intensity, when there's that, I need this from you, please. Oh man, that putting the other person on a pedestal makes people uncomfortable. You've imagined them in your head as this perfect person who will make your life better. Oh, she's so fantastic. He's so wonderful. If I had that job, it would be, oh, my life would be better. And then your perceived sense of lack now, the feeling that it's not good enough right now goes, oh, well, I'm down here. That's way up here. That's gonna get me up here. Then we say, I want it, I want it, I want it, I need it, I need it, I need it. What we need to think is that job, while it might be great, just a job. That girl or guy, while they might be cool, they're just another human. They don't walk on water, right? So why do we get so invested in people like they're the one, they're gonna change my entire life, oh, it's gonna be fantastic. start to let go of some of that importance a little bit. And what you'll find is that when you are able to relax and go, maybe all of these things that I've been valuing over my own sense of well-being are not more important than my own sense of well-being. Maybe I don't need to have all of these people like me before I get to like myself. Maybe that feeling that I am inherently worthless and I need all this validation isn't very logical. When we start to become aware of our thought patterns, aware of the subtext in the way we interact with people, the feelings of how often do I minimize myself? How often do I try to be small and not take up a lot of space and make sure everybody else's needs are met? And why do I do that? Is it because I genuinely want to be a good person, or is it because I'm afraid? Is it because I am afraid at a deep level that this person's gonna see that I'm worthless and I'm not going the extra mile to make them happy, so I don't want to be seen because I'm not valuable? That is the source of a lot of people's neediness. We do whatever we can to cover up our perceived lack of self-worth. Our thought that, well, nobody's gonna love me, so I need to do all of these other things to make them like me. It becomes this game of what can I do, what can I achieve to make them happy so that they will love me, because they would never love me just the way I am. That's the self-fulfilling prophecy. We start with that neediness, we act with that neediness, and it ends up pushing people away, giving you more proof, or so you think, as the needy person, as the nice guy, as the nice girl. It gives you more proof that you're right. I am worthless. Why else would that person leave me? I did everything for them. I made them so happy. I did everything they could possibly want. I was the perfect boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. Why would they leave? It's because that energy dynamic is very uncomfortable, because the feeling of having somebody idolize you when you think of yourself as a normal person is kind of weird. And that's why, as a needy person, you will either push people away, or you'll find yourself in relationships with like crazy narcissists, because you kind of feed into that power fantasy that the other person might have. You can end up in codependent relationships because the other person doesn't have a good sense of self either. Your attempt to meet all their needs is actually validating for them, but it's not healthy in either case, because you're not really interacting with a real other person. You're both kind of interacting with this strange mental projection. Start to notice these things in your day-to-day life and ask important questions. Why do I feel this way? Is the core feeling of my unworthiness true? Is it based on anything real? Where does that come from? Investigate that, and what you will find is that you are worthy right now. You don't need to be needy. You're on this planet like everybody else. You don't have to do anything to be worthy of your spot here. You don't have to prove your right to exist. You don't have to push people out of the way to earn your place on the planet. It's only the psychological feeling of worthlessness. I'm down here and they'll never like me, and they're up here and I want them so bad. So many of these negative beliefs of worthlessness or unlovability, or something is fundamentally wrong with me and I need to compensate for it with all of these external things. I need to be something I'm not so that people like me. So many of these patterns are formed early in our childhood as compensation mechanisms for things going on in our environment that we can't control as little kids, and we make a decision that says, this is how the world works. And that crystallized decision runs our life for decades and decades if we don't examine it. But do examine it. Check out a video right here I have on how to heal your inner child, how to go back and understand some of these patterns and free yourself from that illusion that you are wrong in the first place. It's based in a kind of twisted mental picture. So check out this video right here for that. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time.